Part 101. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1001. Chapter 1001 Tips for Adopting a Cat. She is his little girl, the young lady of the Pei family. She should be the girl with the highest status in the whole family. Pei Xian felt the little hand in his palm move uneasily, so he held her firmly. In the palm of my hand, the nervous restlessness stopped. As if I felt very safe, I snuggled quietly next to him. Even though there were thousands of reluctances in Pei Jingyu's heart, she had to say to Xiaoling in a nice voice, "Nice to meet you. I am Pei Jingyu. You are welcome to come and play with me in the future." Xiaoling boldly gave her a friendly smile. Pei Jingyu felt angry in her heart, but she couldn't let it happen. She told herself over and over in her heart, "I want to be a lady, I want to be a lady." It took a lot of effort to temporarily suppress the frustration in her heart. She didn't dare to make her eldest cousin unhappy. This was what her grandfather had ordered, saying that even such a powerful branch could not bear the consequences of offending this eldest cousin. Grandpa also told her to have a good relationship with her first cousin. He is the youngest and most powerful leader in the history of the Pei family. Given time, he can sweep everything. Pei Jingyu took all her grandfather's advice to heart. Furthermore, she also likes this eldest cousin very much. Among all the men in the Pei family, there is no one better than him. Anyway, all the anger and unhappiness can be settled slowly with that little beggar named Xiaoling. Pei Jingyu thought fiercely in her heart. She handed the tea box in her hand towards Pei Xian again. "Brother, open it quickly and take a look. Grandpa said that this kind of white tea is very good, clears the mind and improves the eyesight, and nourishes people. Only 2 boxes were released this year. 1 box is for himself. Keep it, I'll give you a box, even my dad doesn't have it." Pei Xian took the tea and said, "Thank you uncle." For me her grandfather should be called uncle. Pei Jingyu smiled sweetly, "Why are my family so polite? Cousin, you just came back from outside and haven't eaten yet, right? A new Weijai restaurant has opened in the east of the city. It is said to be delicious. Can we go and eat together?" Pei Xian handed the tea to the servant and said to Pei Jing, "There is no need to eat. I have some things to deal with. I will send the driver to take you back." Pei Jingyu's face darkened, and she glanced at Xiaoling unhappily. What could he possibly have to deal with? Bringing this little beggar back? I guess you are going to deal with this little beggar, right? It's really disappointing. She was a little angry and said, "My eldest cousin doesn't even care about me." Pei Xian smiled gently, "You are my cousin, so of course I feel sorry for you." He turned to the servant and told the servant, "Send Miss Jingyu back. He is always like this. He talks like a spring breeze, but his will is as strong as iron and cannot be violated by anyone." No matter how unhappy she was, Pei Jingyu had no choice but to leave with the servant. While walking out, I was thinking in my mind, how should I make that little beggar look good? Xiaoling watched Pei Jingyu leave, feeling a little uneasy. She could feel that the young lady didn't like her from the beginning to the end. Her palm-sized face couldn't hide her thoughts, showing a bit of sadness. When she looked up, she found Pei Xian looking down at her. "What are you thinking about?" he asked. She was quiet for a moment before saying, "Did I make Miss Jingyu angry?" Pei Xian took her hand and walked upstairs, replying, "In front of you, she is not a young lady. Xiaoling, remember, there is no young lady in the Pei family who is more noble than you. I brought you back." She nodded in understanding. His words seemed to have a strange soothing power that made people feel at ease. Pei Xian took her to the prepared room. It was very neat and spacious. In the middle was a big bed covered with soft bedding. Thin muslin curtains were hung outside the south-facing French window, and the sunlight came in large tracts, casting shadows all over the place. On the wooden floor, the air is filled with the faint scent of iris. He told her, "This is your room." It's so beautiful. Her eyes were shining, and she looked at it with great fondness. She has never lived in such a spacious and exquisite house. When she was in the orphanage, several children were crowded into a small dormitory filled with bunk beds and sundries, with almost no room to turn around. Unlike here, it was so big that she could dance. "Do you like it?" His voice was low and distant. "I like it very much," she nodded vigorously, let go of his hand and looked at her new room, touching here and playing with it. Unknowingly, a big smile appeared on her face, and the little difference she had made when she met Pei Jingyu before was gone. Happy to leave behind. She was so happy that she walked around the room lightly and said to Pei Zion, "Thank you." There was also a smile in Pei Zion's eyes. He didn't know why, but seeing her happy made him feel good. This was an emotion he had never experienced with anyone else since he was a child. His eyes flashed darkly and he said to her, "If you need anything, just tell Mama Joe and she will help you deal with it." "Can I ask for anything?" she asked, raising her head. "You can ask for anything," he said gently. She tilted her little head and thought for a while, then looked at him with bright eyes. "I want to go see Xiao Yu, take a picture of this room to her, tell her that I am living a good life, and tell her not to worry." After being adopted out of the orphanage, the sisters separated. She followed Pei Zion home, and Xiao Yu was sent to the best hospital in S City for examination and treatment. Pei Zion didn't expect that she would make this request. Shouldn't an ordinary girl enjoy herself when she suddenly comes from a place of material scarcity to such a luxurious place? Fortunately for her, the first thing she remembered was her sister. However, maybe this is why he liked her at first sight. How simple and beautiful she is. Pei Zion said, "Tomorrow morning I will take you to buy clothes, and in the afternoon we will go to the hospital." She was still wearing old clothes from the orphanage. They were so ugly that they were so ugly. How could such cheap street clothes be worthy of the girl he liked? She said yes happily. Turning his head, he saw the irises in the vase and asked him, "Are there irises growing around here too?" He said, "There are no flowers grown around here. The ones in the vase were brought from the orphanage." When she came out of the orphanage, Chu Chen told him that the people in the orphanage said she liked this flower very much. He also seemed to casually mention to him the tips on raising kittens. If you want to change a kitten's place, it is best to bring something familiar to it. This will help reduce its anxiety and uneasiness, and also help it adapt to the new environment as soon as possible and fall in love with your master. He guessed that it was the same for people. Sure enough, she looked at him gratefully, her eyes as bright as stars. "You are so kind." End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1002. Chapter 1002. The Little Princess. He took her to buy clothes. At this age, it was the first time for him to enter this kind of shopping mall. It was a wonderful experience to be among the endless flow of shopping people. Holding her soft little hand in his palm, he lowered his head to look at her. The girl beside him looked very happy, with a pair of bright eyes shining, looking around curiously. He asked her softly, "What do you like?" "That," she pointed to a store not far away. A small dress decorated with lace, sequins, and flowers was displayed in the window. It looked beautiful and gorgeous under the carefully set lights. She pointed, then as if she noticed something, she took her hand back and looked at him hesitantly, with some hesitation in her voice. "Do you think it's good?" Like him, she had never gone shopping like this before. "In this place, I didn't even have the chance to choose my own clothes." When she was in the orphanage, all the clothes were distributed by the orphanage based on donations. She got what she got, so there was no chance to pick and choose. She thought of Pei Jingyu's disgusted look when she looked at her yesterday. What if she chooses the clothes poorly this time and still gets laughed at? Zion didn't care so much. He took her hand into the children's clothing store and asked the clerk to take out the beautiful and gorgeous little dress for her to try on. The clerk glanced at them, and based on experience, he recognized Zion as a rich man at a glance, so he smiled attentively and said, "You two are really discerning. This little dress is the new season in our store. It's really like this lady, it matches so well. Such a beautiful lady should wear such a beautiful dress." Xiaoling went to try on her beloved little dress. Her body shape is perfect, her skin is fair, and her palm-sized face is stunning. In short, she looks good no matter what she wears. When she walked out of the dressing room, Zion felt like his breathing was stagnant for a moment. He had seen her fighting and being embarrassed, but he had never seen her dressed so beautifully. Like a little princess coming out of a dream. How could there be such a beautiful person in this world? Zion looked at the little girl standing in front of him with her face raised, waiting for him to express his opinion. He thought, maybe he brought her back just to give her such a good life, a life worthy of her and able to keep this beautiful life forever. Isn't it good looking? Seeing that he remained silent for a long time, she became uneasy again. He then came back to his senses. No, it's beautiful. The clerks on the side were also stunned by her astonishing beauty. Several clerks who were originally serving other customers also turned their heads and looked at this light and beautiful little princess. Even a few customers in the store couldn't help but admire her. Whose girl is this? She's so beautiful. The clerk smiled and praised, "Miss, you really suit this skirt, it's like it was tailor-made just for you." She skillfully pulled out a few accessories from the jewelry rack on the side. The skirt alone is not enough, it also needs to be matched with accessories to look good. This is a hair accessory made from deep sea shells. This is. As she spoke, she was about to put the jewelry on her body. Unexpectedly, a hand stretched out halfway and took the jewelry from the clerk's hand. Zion lowered his head, his tall body bent slightly, and carefully put on her hair accessories. The man's slow breathing brushed against her cheek, making her feel a little itchy. She blinked her eyes and looked up at him. She suddenly realized that he was so good-looking, his deeply contoured features, deep eyes, and upright posture. The bridge of his nose and his thin lips were habitually pursed into a straight line, giving him a very majestic and reliable look. He put on her hair ornaments and she looked at him. The clothing store was filled with fragrance and lights, and the little dress on her body was shining. Time seems to have stopped at this moment, and only this beautiful scene is left in the world. Everyone in the whole store stopped what they were doing and looked at them with bated breath, as if they couldn't bear to disturb a fairy tale. Finally, a little girl quietly broke the silence. "Mom, that little sister is so beautiful, and that big brother is also kind to her. Are they the prince and princess?" "That's probably what princes and princesses are like." The girl's mother was gentle. He touched her head. The low voice reached Xiaoling's ears. The corners of her pink and petal-like lips were slightly curved, and she felt a little shy and sweet in her heart. Growing up, she was only scolded as a little troublemaker and a wild child. No one ever said that she could still be a princess. Every girl has a princess dream in her heart. Her dream of being a princess came true little by little in the hands of this big brother named Zion. Zion changed several kinds of accessories, dressing her up like a doll to look cute. He finally straightened up and pushed her shoulders to push her to the mirror. She looked at the mirror, a little disbelieving. The beautiful little girl in the mirror was herself. Gently, she stretched out her hand and touched the cold mirror with her fingertips. The little girl in the mirror also stretched out her hand and touched her fingertips. She stared at this action for a long time. "What are you thinking about?" he asked, stretching out his arm from behind her, effortlessly wrapping his palm around her slender white hand, and looking into the mirror with her. "I was thinking." Her voice sounded like she was talking in a dream. Could this be a dream? "When I wake up from the dream, I will have nothing." He smiled lowly, Little paranoid man, you will never wake up from your dream. That day, he took her to visit many shops and bought everything she liked. She held him by her little hand and lingered in the mall for a long time, thinking about her sister who was still lying in the hospital bed. Finally, she reluctantly left and went to the hospital. Xiao, I'm here to see you, she smiled and walked into Xiaoyu's ward with Pei Xian. The hospital bed looks sallow and thin, with purple lips, a big head and a small body, and is very ugly. She looked at her sister holding the man's hand with a faint look. She was wearing a beautiful new dress and her long black hair was tied with a beautiful ribbon, like an exquisite doll. What about yourself? So weak, so ugly. Xiaoyu bit her lip and forced herself to put on a smile. Sister, I miss you so much. I miss you so much. Xiaoling couldn't see the gloom in her eyes. She came to Xiaoyu lightly and took out a beautiful skirt from a beautiful big gift box. Look, Xiaoyu, do you like this? I chose it specially for you. It's from the same series as the one I'm wearing. By the way, the same series means that the styles are almost the same. That's what Brother Pei told me. With a bright look on her face, she announced her newly acquired knowledge to her sister with a little pride, and handed the skirt to her sister, expecting her sister's reaction. There are 2 more updates tonight, but Ying Ying is still writing and will be released a few hours later. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1003. Chapter 1003 Etiquette Lesson. Xiaoyu took it, lowered her eyes, and gently stroked the delicate fabric with her fingers that were swollen due to illness. Her voice was a little weak. It's very beautiful. Sister, you are so kind. After saying that, she looked up at Pei Xian who was standing next to Xiaoling. Thank you too, Brother Pei. She knew very clearly who was the sponsor. Without Pei Xian to provide them with food, clothing, and hospital treatment, she, Xiaoyu, would still be just a poor person trapped in an orphanage, struggling on the line of life and death. Pei Xian's voice was very gentle. No need to thank me, it was your sister who asked me to buy it for you. Xiaoyu Rong smiled weakly and whispered, Brother Pei is so kind to my sister. Many emotions arose in her heart, including envy and unwillingness. Why is it that everyone still focuses on her sister even though she has already left the orphanage? What's so good about her sister? She lowered her eyes and looked at the skirt in her hand. It was a very soft goose yellow color, but it didn't match her skin tone. Instead, it made her look dull, ugly, and extremely uncoordinated. How stupid is my sister to think that she will like this dress? I wonder if she is still sick? When you came to visit a doctor dressed like this and gave such a beautiful skirt as a gift, did you know that she had no chance to wear it and deliberately provoked her and made fun of her? Xiaoyu felt resentful in her heart, and the hand hidden under the quilt clenched into a fist unconsciously. Xiaoling didn't realize anything. She chatted with Xiaoyu for a while, then got up and left with Pei Xian. Sitting in the car on the way back, she felt a little tired and yawned slightly. Pei Xian said in a warm voice, lie on my shoulder and sleep for a while. I will call you when you get home. After all, she was just adopted by him yesterday. She was a little shy and said softly, I'm not sleepy. She was embarrassed to lean on his shoulder. However, the Rolls-Royce, which was driving smoothly, was so comfortable that she felt sleepy without even realizing it. Even more powerful, the little head rested on his solid shoulder bit by bit and uncontrollably. Pei Xian did not disturb her and adjusted his position slightly to make her sleep more comfortably. She was a little restrained at first, but when she fell asleep, she fell into a deep sleep and forgot where she was. She stretched out her little arm to hug his arm and rubbed her cheek comfortably. After a while, She stretched out her other arm and hugged him tightly like a koala hugging a tree trunk. He looked down at her. His shoulder was sleeping soundly, and her sleeping posture was different from the famous ladies he was used to seeing. Her petal-like lips were slightly open, and her crystal saliva stained his elegant shirt. With a gentle look on his face, he reached out his hand and wiped it gently for her even though it was not dirty. She fell asleep for a while, and when she woke up, she saw him wiping her saliva. She was startled, and then blushed again. I didn't mean it," she mumbled and let him go, apologizing. He smiled slightly. "It doesn't matter." He took his hand back, but there was a hint of regret in his heart. The soft and beautiful touch like petals on his fingertips was still there, but unfortunately, she was already awake. She looked at the small pool of drool marks on his shoulder and blushed again and again. "I cursed myself in my heart for being so reckless. What if I made him unhappy?" Her hands stirred the hem of her clothes uneasily and said, "Can I help you wash it off?" He raised his eyebrows slightly. "You know how?" She shook her head honestly. He laughed. "I won't try to be strong." There was endearment in his voice. She blushed again and argued in a low voice, I can learn. I can't just eat free rice all the time." He was so kind to her that she was so grateful that she couldn't repay him. She desperately wanted to do something. Repay. Pei Zion wanted to laugh again. Does this silly girl think that washing his clothes can repay him for everything he has done for their sisters? If nothing else, the labor she paid for washing the clothes probably wouldn't even make up for the material cost of the shirt he was wearing. He looked at her softly. "I said that I would make you the most popular artist in the world. If you really want to repay the favor, then work hard to achieve this goal." She nodded vigorously. Since this was what he expected of her, she would definitely do it. But what should I do? She looked at him and asked anxiously. Pei Zion glanced at the saliva mark on his shoulder and said, "I will arrange for you to take etiquette classes with other girls in the family, learn how to have beautiful manners and be an elegant girl. The manners and temperament of an artist conversation is very important. Once you have learned this, I will arrange the next step." Still disgusted by him, she blushed again and glanced at the watermark with some sadness. He noticed the look in her eyes and said, "Of course, that's just your manner in front of others. We don't have to be so restrained when we get along in private, like this." He pointed to the mark on his shoulder. "It doesn't matter." That little bit of sadness disappeared. She glanced at him gratefully, feeling that this majestic brother Pei looked very amiable. As expected, Pei Zion contacted the teacher in the family and asked a servant to take her to class. All the ladies of the Pei family learned etiquette together. The class was built in an elegant place inside the family. When Xiaoling walked in, some ladies had already gathered in twos and threes. They were either standing or sitting, chatting with their companions, or admiring the scenery alone. Seeing Xiaoling come in, everyone turned their heads and looked at the girl at the door. She is so beautiful. This is the first impression the Pei family ladies have of her. The second impression is that she is really filthy. She is wearing a low-quality dress produced by some small workshop. It is colorful, shiny sequins, and patchwork lace. It is really sparkling. Blind eyes. Who is this? A young lady covered her lips and laughed softly at her companions. The clothes are too magical. Do you really think you are a princess? Her companion also laughed. Where did you buy this dress? It's so ugly. This dress was the little dress that Pei Zion took Xiaoling to buy. She liked it very much. Everyone in the store said it looked good when she was trying it on. She put it away for several days and was reluctant to wear it. She specially saved it until she came to class for the first time today to wear it, hoping to leave a good impression on the teacher and other girls. The result seems to be counterproductive. Xiaoling stood awkwardly at the door of the classroom. She didn't understand why. So many people said that the dress was beautiful, so these girls wouldn't like it? She looked at them carefully and found that most of them were wearing very elegant colors, such as lotus root, off-white, and ash. The styles of their dresses were also simple, without any colorful decorations, unlike the one she wore. Everything from sequined pearls to dried flowers and lace were all piled on her body. End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1004. Chapter 1004. A group of ugly monsters. Standing at the door of the classroom, she suddenly realized that she was so out of place. A young lady from the Pei family wearing a small dress looked at her. "Who are you?" Xiaoling said, "My name is Xiaoling, I am from." She comes from the orphanage on the outskirts of the city. She has no parents. Thanks to our Pei family, we kindly gave her a chance to learn etiquette with us. Before Xiaoling could speak, she spoke clearly and with a little arrogance. The voice rang. Everyone looked around and saw a beautiful girl wearing a light pearl white silk top and shoulder-length hair sitting in front of a desk by the window. She was 15 or 16 years old. It was Pei Jingyu. She is the most noble lady of this generation of the Pei family, and she is implicitly the leader of this group of girls. When the girls heard what she said, they were immediately surprised, and glanced at Xiaoling with curiosity, confusion, and disdain. A wild child from an orphanage, no wonder she was dressed so tastelessly, but how did she get into the Pei family? A girl snorted coldly and asked Pei Jingyu, "Sister Jingyu, when did our family start doing such good things? Can any cat or dog come to class with us?" "That's right, it's too much," another girl said. "They are all self-reliant on their status and cannot tolerate being in the same room with a lowly orphan, let alone taking an etiquette class together, which is so elegant and noble and symbolizes the status of a young lady." Pei Jingyu looked at Xiaoling and sneered softly, "Did you see, little beggar, you are not welcome here, why don't you get out of here?" She had already disliked Xiaoling, and it was inconvenient to have an attack in front of Pei Xian that day. Now that there is no support from Pei Xian here, of course she has to vent her anger. She has already sent someone to investigate Xiaoling and found out all about her. She even heard from her grandfather why Pei Xian adopted this girl, because he planned to make her a big star. Pei Jingyu guessed that in Pei Xian's eyes, Xiaoling was nothing more than a prop. What kind of big star or small star, let alone she has not become famous yet, even if she becomes famous in the future, which of the emperor's big stars will not be respectful to the Pei family? An actor is an actor, no matter how famous he is, he will only be trampled under the feet of a wealthy family like them. She looked at Xiaoling provocatively, her eyes cold and sharp, full of oppression. Xiaoling felt aggrieved. She just wanted to say that she was from Pei Xian's side, but she was interrupted by Pei Jingyu before she could finish her words. Seeing these wealthy ladies looking down on her so much, it felt like a thorn in her heart, which hurt. What happened to the orphanage? Are orphanages inferior? She bit her lip, very unconvinced, and raised her head to meet Pei Jingyu's gaze. "Yes, I am an orphan, so what? You are just relying on a good pregnancy. What's the big deal?" She often quarreled and fought with people when she was in the orphanage. She was a little master of getting into trouble. Now that she has entered a wealthy family, she has been careful to suppress her temper. Now, she can't suppress it anymore. Pei Jingyu didn't expect that she would have the courage to talk back, but she was stunned. Before she said anything, other young ladies who usually fawned over her had already charged in for her. "Xiaoling, right? Why are you talking to Sister Jingyu? You don't even look at what you are. Oh, look at what you're wearing. This outfit was picked up from a trash can, right? It's so ugly that I don't even want it." She scoffed, covering her mouth and giggling. The girls next to him also had mocking looks on their faces, and they were very happy to see this little beggar being suppressed. Xiaoling is even more angry. This dress is not as ugly as they said. She and Pei Xian obviously chose it together. Even if she had no discernment, Brother Pei said it was good looking. How could what Brother Pei said be wrong? The angry Xiao Xiaoling didn't understand one thing. Pei Xian is the head of the emperor. He is busy with official duties on weekdays, so how can he have time to choose clothes? Everything he wears from head to toe is recommended by a dedicated image consultant and purchased by a housekeeper. He just wears it himself and doesn't have to worry about matching it. He has even less experience with girls' clothes. However, this can't be entirely blamed on him. Xiaoling is so beautiful that she looks good in anything she wears. Such a gorgeous little dress cannot fit on most girls, but she can dress like a fairy tale princess. Stunningly beautiful. It's not that she doesn't look good in this skirt, it just doesn't fit the style of a well-known Zhiyuan. Pei Xian knew this problem in his heart, but he didn't care and indulged her. First, he just thought she liked it, and second, he had already ordered the butler to find a suitable stylist, and he planned to wait for the stylist to be in place before revamping her overall image. But he didn't expect that the intrigue between the girls would be so serious. As soon as his little princess stepped into the classroom, she was ridiculed by everyone. Xiaoling glared at the group of girls opposite and retorted, "You are so ugly. You are a bunch of ugly people. You are so ugly. Do you think you can become beautiful just by putting on clothes? How pitiful. You don't have enough face, so you rely on clothes to make it up." She has learned a lot about scolding people since she was in the orphanage. She can poke people wherever they hurt. The young ladies from the Pei family were so angry that they were scolded. Oh my God, how could there be such uneducated little beggars in the world? How dare she call them ugly? How could she call them ugly? The ladies of the Pei family wanted to retort, but they couldn't find anything to say. Because, what Xiaoling said is true. These eldest ladies are all as beautiful as the daughters of ordinary families, but there is no comparison with Xiaoling. Xiaoling's beauty is absolutely crushing. No matter how disgusted she is, no one can deny her shocking beauty. Just like 100 points and 0 points, Suan Ri and Ying Huo, they are not at the same level as Xiaoling. A young lady from the Pei family was so angry that she poked Xiaoling's nose with her hand. Who do you think you are? Don't be so arrogant. Get out of here. Get out of here. Xiaoling reached out and opened the young lady's hand. Who do you think you are? You actually hit me, the young lady shouted in disbelief. Her name was Pei Jingshan. Her father's status in the family was not low. She herself had a very good relationship with Pei Jingyu. She had never thought that someone would be like this to her. Pei Jingshan was so angry that she rushed forward and tore Xiaoling apart. I told you to beat me. I'll beat you to death. I'll beat you to death. Jingshan, the other ladies were stunned, and it took several seconds before they came back to their senses. Pei Jingshan is young, only 12 years old like Xiaoling. She can't keep her temper and can't help but move her hands when someone provokes her. The other ladies relied on their status and did not come forward to help. They only scolded Xiaoling from the sidelines, "You little beggar, get out of here. You are not worthy of fighting Jingshan." End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1005. Chapter 1005, Going Off the Rails. Xiaoling ignored them and struggled hard with Pei Jingshan. She came from an orphanage, and she had a lot of experience fighting with the big kids for steamed buns every day. At this time, she didn't have to put in much effort to deal with a helpless young lady. She quickly gained the upper hand and defeated Pei. Jingshan was pressed to the ground, beating her so hard that she couldn't fight back. Pei Jingshan cried, "Help! Help!" Several other ladies looked at each other in confusion. No one expected that things would develop like this. Can't you see that this little beggar can be so tough in a fight? A pariah is a pariah. They were a little frightened and took a few steps back. Pei Jingshan cried even harder. Seeing that her sisters refused to help, she couldn't help but said fiercely, "If you don't help me, I will tell my father to go." "Oh, oh, oh, he will make you look good." Pei Jingshan's father holds a high position in the emperor group, and at least half of the girls here are not as good as her. In the Pei family, origin and strength determine everything. Those girls couldn't help but become scared when she said that. Pei Jingyu also came to her senses at this time, stamped her feet and said, "Why are you still standing there? Why don't you go and pull that little beggar away? Why are you afraid of her when there are so many of you?" When she shouted like this, the ladies no longer hesitated and rushed to grab Xiaoling. Xiaoling's body was pulled by them, and Pei Jingshan got up from the ground crying, rushed over and tore her apart. "You stinking beggar! How dare you hit me? I'll beat you to death! I'll beat you to death!" While crying, she scratched Xiaoling's face. Xiaoling's hands and feet were restrained, so she had no choice but to turn her face away and avoid it. Pei Jingshan's sharp nails scratched astray, leaving a thin mark on her snow-white neck. She spit out a mouthful of saliva with a poof sound, and spit it right on Pei Jingshan's face, scolding, "Despicable, what kind of skill is it to bully her with the help of many people? Even spitting on her is considered polite." Pei Jingshan covered her face, looked at her blankly, and cried loudly, "You spit on me. Ever since she was a child, has she ever been humiliated like this?" While crying, he pointed at her, "Kill her to death. Tear her mouth apart. Yes, tear her mouth apart." "How dare you?" Xiaoling stared at them, her bright eyes burning like flames. This look made many ladies hesitate. It was so fierce and scary. Pei Jingyu, who was standing outside the crowd and watching with cold eyes, secretly resented why these sisters in her family were so useless. She couldn't help but wink at the other girl next to her. Pei Jingyu has many followers, and the girl who is attached to her understands and calls out, "Don't she think she is beautiful? Scratch her face. Let her still show off her power in front of us." Yes, scratch her face. The girls were excited. Why did they forget this? They are all noble and beautiful ladies. How can they tolerate a little beggar who looks better than them? Since this little beggar offended them, then she was the one who asked for the scratch on her face. A group of girls were busy scratching her face. Seeing that the situation was not good, Xiaoling struggled and screamed, "Let me go." She inadvertently raised her head and glanced around the crowd, where she saw Pei Jingyu, who was wearing a light white silk top, standing calmly. He stood there, looking at her surrounded by several girls, and smiling at her condescendingly. Pei Jingyu. She understood immediately, and she didn't know where she got the strength to break free from the grasp of several girls and rush towards Pei Jingyu. However, it was hard to do anything alone. Before she could even take a few steps, she was dragged down by the other girls and fell into a situation of being besieged again. Xiaoling was so angry that she got into a fight with the girls. Pei Jingyu smiled and was very happy to see Xiaoling being beaten several times. But gradually, she couldn't laugh anymore. The girl didn't know when she started to gain the upper hand and beat the group of Pei ladies who besieged her until they howled like ghosts. Although the winner could not be determined for a while, the outcome seemed to be destined. Pei Jingyu looked around. The few girls around her who didn't take action were either her confidants, or they were noble ladies whose father and brother had high status and were not suitable to be pawns. It would not be appropriate to rush in and join the fight. She pondered for a moment, then made a decision, and gave a few instructions to the other girl next to her. The girl nodded and walked out of the classroom quickly. In the siege of the crowd, Xiaoling gradually became red-blooded and had long forgotten the purpose of fighting with these young ladies. She only knew that if others bullied her, she would bully her back 10 times 100 times. Tearing their hair, twisting their arms, biting their fingers, she hit them again and again, and many of them had blood on them. Her own condition was not good either. Her gorgeous little dress was torn, and there were bruises everywhere on her exposed shoulders, arms, and cheeks, as well as bloodstains scratched by fingernails. She grabbed a girl, and she didn't know who it was, and beat her hard again. Suddenly, I heard a woman screaming, "Stop! Whose little is this? He beats my daughter." She pushed the children aside, grabbed Xiaoling, and threw her out hard. Xiaoling felt like the world was spinning, and then there was a bang sound, and her body hit the wall so hard that she couldn't recover for a long time. She gasped hard and coughed several times before wiping the blood on her face and raising her head. She saw a well-dressed young lady who was angrily yelling at her, "Little bastard, who are you? How dare you hit my daughter? Let me see if I don't skin you." As she spoke, she shouted loudly, "Awang! Beat her to death." A tall bodyguard beside her responded. He strode forward and was about to attack Xiaoling. Xiaoling watched helplessly as the bodyguard walked over, but she had no strength at all and could not move. It's over," she said to herself in her heart. She can't fight now, what should she do? While I was in a hurry, I suddenly heard a voice. "Wait a minute." The bodyguard stopped moving. Everyone turned to look, and saw that the person speaking was a tall woman, wearing a starry black professional suit, with her long black hair tied high into a simple bun. "Teacher Gao," the lady who screamed at first looked at the woman and suppressed her anger. "What do you mean? This wild girl injured my daughter. Do you want to protect her?" she said, while hugging a crying little girl in the manner of a hen protecting her chicks. It was Pei Jingshan who was the first to provoke her. At this time, Pei Jingshan's long hair was disheveled and her body was torn in several places. She looked even more embarrassed than Xiaoling. Xiaoling looked at her and laughed. "Well, I was too tired the past 2 days, so I slept a little more today. I didn't expect to wake up until very late, and accidentally overslept. There are 2 more updates tonight." End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1006. Chapter 1006, Unique Pampering. Several ladies glared at her. Pei Jingshan's mother even screamed, "Teacher Gao, have you seen that? This little is still laughing. Who let her in? I want to expel that person. This is the Pei family's family classroom." When accepting the ladies of the Pei family, Pei Jingshan's mother had preconceptions that Xiaoling was the child of some servant and had gone to the wrong place. "I heard that you want to fire me," a deep voice rang out. Pei Jingshan's mother was startled and turned her head. "Oh my God, who did she see?" "I saw a young and tall man standing by the door of the classroom, wearing a well-made fine woolen suit. His eyes were dark and his expression was cold." Son. Pei Jingshan's mother was trembling all over, unable to speak a complete sentence. "Brother Pei," Xiaoling called softly. She fell a little hard in the last fall and huddled in the corner, unable to get up for a while. Pei Ziyan walked through the crowd without even glancing at the people in the classroom out of the corner of his eye. He walked straight to Xiaoling and squatted down. "Let me see." He stretched out his hand and gently wiped the blood and dust on her face. "Where is the injury? Does it hurt?" She nodded, then shook her head. "She has a sore nose." She was bullied by so many people, but he was the only one who was kind to her. Pei Ziyan's voice was soft and a little reproachful. "Why don't you know how to protect yourself? There are too many of them, I can't beat them." She felt aggrieved and wanted to cry. Without saying anything, he took off his coat, carefully wrapped it around her, covering her dress that had been torn by the girls, picked her up horizontally, and walked out. The people around were horrified. Oh my God, what did they see? The emperor, the lofty patriarch, head of the family, and head of the family, is still so gentle holding this little girl who is like a beggar. It turns out that she is not a wild child at all, she is a child put into this classroom by Pei Xian. Pei Jingshan's mother also reacted, and her legs were so frightened that her legs became weak. Zi Hung, listen to me, what happened this time is just a misunderstanding, we are all one family, you. Pei Xian glanced at her coldly, his gaze was like 10,000 years of ice, with a murderous intent. Pei Jingshan's mother reflexively shut up. Pei Xian's eyes swept over all the girls one by one. No matter who he glanced at, their bodies trembled and they lowered their heads silently, not daring to look at him. The cousin is really so scary. The girls were all frightened. If they had known that Xiaoling was sent in by her cousin, how could they have provoked her so blatantly? If you offend your cousin, isn't it the same as asking for death? Their bodies were trembling slightly and they were silent. Pei Xian held the little girl in his arms and walked out step by step. Wait a minute, Teacher Gao spoke up again and stopped in front of Pei Xian. Pei Xian's eyes were filled with anger. What? Teacher Gao couldn't help but feel a chill in his heart because of the imminent storm. However, as a teacher in this classroom, she had to say something. Chairman, this is a matter between girls. It is not convenient for you to interfere. The state has national laws, the clan has its rules, and our classroom also has our classroom according to the rules. I will handle the fight, please leave Miss Xiaoling behind. Pei Xian sneered, get lost. Going around her, he hugged Xiaoling and strode out. Teacher Gao wanted to stop her again, but the two bodyguards following Pei Xian were already blocking her way, one on the left and the other on the right. She pursed her lips tightly, this chairman is really. How can a child like him be taught well? A few days ago, she received a message from Pei Xian, saying that he had adopted a new little girl and was going to put her in the Pei family's family class to learn etiquette. Teacher Gao has always treated the girls in the classroom equally and does not treat them differently based on their birth status, so she did not spread the news to the outside world. Pei Xian's adoption of Xiaoling happened in the past few days. Many people in the clan didn't know about it, and even those who knew it didn't speak out. Therefore, among the little girls in the classroom, no one except Pei Jingyu knew about it. Just now, Pei Jingyu sent a girl to tell her that Xiaoling had a fight with another girl. Teacher Gao was talking to Pei Jingshan's mother in the office. After hearing this, the two hurried to the classroom. Halfway through, Teacher Gao remembered that Pei Xian had called him before and said that this was Xiaoling's first day of class and that he would come and have a look. He was already on his way. So, she quickly called Pei Xian again and told him what happened here. Unexpectedly, Pei Xian was able to achieve this with just the effort of his front and back legs. The current scene really made Teacher Gao dumbfounded. She didn't expect that Pei Xian's care for the little girl had reached the point of doting. He had never seen him treat any sister like this before. The little girl named Xiaoling only suffered a minor injury. He just took her away from the class and refused to even let her stay to accept the unified punishment. Really, a child cannot be pampered like this. Teacher Gao really couldn't figure it out. He heard that Pei Xian had a very hard life when he was a child. If he did anything wrong, he would be beaten to death by the family, and he had to do his homework with injuries. Why couldn't he see this girl suffer a little bit? It's a small injury. If this continues, people will be raised to waste. Teacher Gao sighed in his heart. Pei Xian hugged Xiaoling, got into his Rolls-Royce, and told the driver, go to the hospital. The driver stepped on the accelerator and drove smoothly and quickly towards the hospital. Xiaoling nestled in his arms, her voice a little thin, this little injury doesn't matter, brother Pei, you don't have to go to the hospital to go to the hospital. She was afraid of delaying his business. Although they had only been together for a few days, she had already discovered how busy is he usually. What's more, She used to fight a lot in the orphanage and suffered countless more serious injuries than this. She didn't need to worry about this minor injury at all, she could heal on her own. Pei Xian looked down at her. Be good, listen to me. Her cheeks and neck had thin blood stains scratched by fingernails. A girl's skin is so delicate, what should I do if there are scars? He gently touched her injury with his fingers, and the blood stains as red as rose juice stained his somewhat rough fingertips. She blinked at him, and his embrace made her feel reassured. Brother Pei, she called softly. What? He asked. You said, don't they all like me? There was a little hurt in her voice. Who said that? You are so beautiful, everyone will like you. Real? Certainly. So she smiled, stretched out her little hand and grasped his arms tightly. End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1007. Chapter 1007 Gift. The doctors in the hospital also felt that he was making a fuss out of a molehill, but because he was rich and powerful, they tolerated it silently and convened a team of experts to diagnose and treat Xiaoling's injury. At Pei Xian's request, he also took care of Xiaoling. Aya did a full body checkup from head to toe. Finally, the doctor told Pei Xian, "Congratulations, Mr. Pei, Miss Xia is very healthy and does not have any diseases. Her bones and muscles are well developed, and her teeth are neat. If she has any regrets, it is how little skin she has on her body. A small scar, probably from a previous fall or fight, can be removed by our plastic surgery center while treating this small wound." So, Pei Xian asked them to remove all the scars on her body. She turned into a flawless little girl, with soft skin and no flaw in every inch. After this incident, he asked the housekeeper to hire a beauty doctor to take care of her daily body shape and appearance. Such a beautiful child must be beautiful forever. Because of the injury, Pei Xian helped her ask for leave from teacher Gao. She has not been to class these days and is recuperating in his luxurious villa. She bathes in rose milk every day and eats food carefully selected by the butler from all over the country. Pei Xian is still very busy, and she is at home alone most of the time. She asked the housekeeper, "What kind of person is Brother Pei?" The housekeeper smiled kindly at her. "What kind of person does the lady think your husband is?" Xiaoling bit her ice cream and tilted her head to think, "He is a very good person. No one has ever been so kind to me." The housekeeper said, "Then he is a very good person." The outside world has mixed reviews on Pei Xian. Some people say that he has a kingly demeanor, while others say that he is cruel, cold-blooded, and a heinous devil. But it doesn't matter what others think. What matters is what the person he cares about thinks. The housekeeper was very pleased that his husband had devoted his sincerity to this little girl, and the little girl did not disappoint him. The doorbell rang, and the housekeeper went to open the door and saw a timid middle-aged man standing at the door carrying a gift. The man smiled and asked the housekeeper, "Butler Mu, is Xian's nephew at home?" The steward said politely, "Sir, he has gone to the company." The middle-aged man asked again, "Is Miss Xiaoling here?" The housekeeper said, "Mr. Pei Xian, what do you want from Miss Xiaoling?" The husband told him to protect Miss Xiaoling and he would not let anyone in casually. Pei Xian's status in the family is not high, and he has no friendship with Pei Xian. At this time, the housekeeper facing Pei Xian was also cautious and did not dare to make any mistakes. "It's like this, my little girl Pei Jingmei was in the etiquette class. I feel deeply sorry for offending Miss Xiaoling, so I brought some gifts to apologize to Miss Xiaoling." "I see." The housekeeper understood that the man in front of him was not sorry for Xiaoling, but was afraid of Pei Xian's power and had to go through this. He has seen many people like this and is very skilled in dealing with them. Miss Xiaoling is taking a nap and it is not convenient to see guests. Please go back first. Steward Mu, who is that person outside? Suddenly, a girl's voice asked from behind. Butler Mew turned around and saw that Xiaoling had woken up from her nap at some point. She was wearing a pair of bunny slippers and pajamas full of small floral flowers, with long, fluffy hair. She was rubbing her eyes and walking toward the door. Ms. Ya, he called out respectfully. Xiaoling walked to the door and saw him and the middle-aged man at the door. Who are you? She asked. I am Pei Jingmei's father, the middle-aged man said to her with a smile. Jingmei accidentally offended you in the etiquette class a few days ago. I have already scolded her, and I brought some small gifts today. I'm here to apologize to you. Miss Xiaoling, we are all classmates, and we will live in harmony in the future, so just forgive her and accept the gift. He didn't want to be kicked back by Butler Mew next time. Pei Xian might make things difficult for him. Many uncles in the Pei family are quite afraid of this nephew, and Pei Zhan is no exception. It is better to act according to the opportunity and directly persuade Xiaoling to accept it here. What gift? Xiaoling asked. When Pei Zhan saw something interesting, he became even more attentive. They are all small gadgets. Candies from Switzerland, dresses from Japan, and a few small hairpins from France. They are all beautiful. These things were originally Pei Jingmei clamored for someone to take it abroad and bring it back, but since she had offended someone, she could only bear the pain and take it to Xiaoling. After all, Pei Zhan didn't know what Xiaoling liked, so it would be safer to give her something for a little girl. Sure enough, little girls like pretty things. Xiaoling felt a little itchy after hearing this. In addition, this middle-aged man was right. She and those ladies would be classmates in the future. They could not meet each other without looking up. It would not be good if they were too stiff. So, she smiled sweetly and said to Pei Zhan, "Thank you, uncle, I will accept it." Pei Zhan was overjoyed and quickly handed her the beautifully packaged things. The housekeeper looked on with a headache. Originally, he wanted to send the person away directly, but who knew that Miss Ya would just come out and kill him. But, forget it, since she likes it, let her keep it. Anyway, my husband has given orders. As long as it is not a big issue of principle, she can do everything. Xiaoling happily took the gift back to the room. She felt that she had done a great job. Accepting the gift meant that she had reconciled with Pei Jingmei. She would be fine when she went to class next time, right? She couldn't keep bothering Brother Pei to clean up her mess. She hummed lightly and opened the gifts. It is indeed a very beautiful dress, a Japanese-style tutu princess dress. It is not as fancy as the one she bought last time, but the elegant color naturally reveals a dreamy sweetness. She put it on, and Pei Jingmei's height and weight were about the same as hers, which was just right. She continued to hum, eating candy and trying out some hairpins. One after another, the housekeeper sent many gifts. It turns out that the news that Pei Zhan came to give gifts spread like wildfire, and many people who participated in that group fight, fearing to offend Pei Xian, also sent small gifts to Xiaoling to apologize. The housekeeper sighed in his heart, and based on the principle of accepting this rather than accepting that may offend others, he had no choice but to accept them all. On this day, Xiaoling had a lot of fun in the room. There were so many new clothes and beautiful accessories, as well as lots of candies and chocolates, which kept her busy until sunset. Pei Xian stepped into the house, Zhou Ma served tea, and the housekeeper went to pick up the coat that Pei Xian took off. Pei Xian asked, "Where is Xiaoling?" In the past, when he came home, the little fairy would always come downstairs to greet him immediately, but today she was nowhere to be seen. End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1008. Chapter 1008 Sudden Conflict. The steward told him what happened during the day. Pei Xian went upstairs and saw that her bedroom door was ajar, so he gently opened it. There were all kinds of beautiful dresses, accessories, and candies scattered everywhere on the bed and carpet, sparkling all over the floor. Amidst the dazzling array of things, he saw the little girl sitting on the ground with her back to him, humming softly and unfolding a gauze skirt. Her back is very beautiful, so beautiful that people want to crush it into pieces in their arms, but what is she wearing? The soft pink clothes faintly outlined her beautiful figure, but it also made his eyes darken. Xiaoling hummed a song and stood up from the carpet lightly. She gestured twice with her gauze skirt in front of the mirror, and then she saw the man behind her in the reflection of the mirror. "Brother Pei," she smiled brightly and turned around to greet her. "You're back. Look, do these new skirts of mine look good?" He took the gauze skirt in her hand and threw it aside. "Brother Pei," she looked at him puzzled, and then realized that something was wrong with his expression. Pei Ziyan asked in a deep voice, "Who asked you to accept these gifts?" She was frightened. She had never seen him speak so harshly before, and she was speechless. He didn't say that he could accept it, but he also didn't say that he wasn't allowed to accept it. Didn't he tell her that it was okay no matter what she did? Originally, she thought he would be happy if she accepted the gift and established a good relationship with her classmates. Before he could clear his thoughts, he heard Pei Ziyan's order, "Take off your clothes." Huh, she was stunned again and did not respond. He was impatient, frowned and pulled the shirt on her body. The soft and thin blouse teared with a strong pull and split open, revealing her light white bottom shirt. Yeah, she was shocked and frightened, and reflexively covered her chest with her hands. The 12-year-old girl's body is not yet fully developed. Under the faintly transparent light white color is her slightly swollen breasts, which seem to have no shape, which makes his throat tighten all of a sudden. She covered her body and ran away from him. The girl's messy footsteps disappeared deep into the corridor. Pei Ziyan stood there and did not chase her. He lowered his head and looked at the hand that had just torn her clothes apart. The residual warmth on his fingers was still there. It was a very strange temperature that made people's breathing a little irregular. He didn't know what was wrong with him. He didn't think much about it just now. When he saw her wearing clothes given by others, he felt very angry. In anger, he naturally moved his hands and decided to put her in the unsightly clothes. Tear off the clothing. But I forgot that she is a girl. It wasn't until he heard the startled and frightened yeah that he realized what he had done. This kind of behavior was so rough and shocking. How could he do this to her? Pei Ziyan closed his eyes slightly, adjusted his breathing slowly, and expelled the images he saw that he shouldn't have seen from his mind. Immediately, he turned around and looked for her in the direction where the footsteps had disappeared. After pushing through several rooms, I found her in a small tea room at the corner at the end of the corridor. She huddled up in the corner, her arms crossed in front of her chest, and her white fingers tightly grasped her shoulders. Seeing him, she shrank back in fear. Pei Ziyan stood in front of the door and did not walk in immediately. The big one and the small one looked at each other a few steps apart. Xiaoling's expression was not very good, and there was still panic that could not be concealed in her eyes. The incident just now really frightened her. Although she was still young and did not understand what happened between men and women, she instinctively felt very scared. Very uncomfortable. But at the same time, she felt that it was inappropriate. Brother Pei was so kind to her, how could she be afraid of him? She mustered up the courage not to shrink back any further, but she didn't dare to take a step forward either. Finally, Pei Ziyan broke the silence. "I'm sorry." "Sorry." She was startled again, but after just a few seconds, her body relaxed due to the "I'm sorry." For some reason, his slightly hoarse voice had a strange soothing power. Xiaoling carefully tried to smile at him. Her smile was a little stiff, but in his opinion, it was the most beautiful look in the world. Actually, what she didn't know was that Pei Ziyan had never apologized to anyone since he was a child. This was the first time in his life that he said the words "I'm sorry." He was more nervous than she was, for fear that she would refuse. Fortunately, she didn't. Pei Xian tried to take a step forward, but she suddenly became nervous again and shrank back. He immediately stopped where he was and tried to keep his voice as gentle as possible, "I mean no harm." She bit her lip, not knowing what to say. Pei Xian paused for a moment, and then continued, "I didn't mean it, I just don't like to see you wearing clothes given by others." He rarely explained anything to people, and spoke very slowly, "I adopted you. Yes, I am responsible for food, clothing, and housing. I was so angry when I saw that scene just now that I got carried away." He didn't know if she could understand the meaning of these words, so he looked at her nervously as he spoke. She also looked at him. At first, she was a little confused, but then she seemed to understand slowly, and said carefully and tentatively, "So, Brother Pei, you just don't like me wearing clothes given by others. Tell him." It turned out to be like this. The little girl's heart slowly settled down, and the nervousness of being offended disappeared, replaced by guilt and emotion. "I'm sorry," she also said to him, "I didn't know you didn't like it. If she knew, then she would not wear the clothes given by others no matter how nice they were." Pei Xian's expression relaxed. "This is the first time, I don't blame you. Don't do this again." "I can't do it anymore," she said, pulling a large cotton and linen towel from the tea table nearby and wrapping it around herself to cover her torn clothes. She walked up to him step by step, raised her head and looked at him. "Brother Pei, from now on I will only wear clothes given by you alone." "That's good." With a faint smile in his eyes, he took her hand and left the tea room. That day, he ordered people to collect all the things in her room and throw them into the trash can. The housekeeper said that before he could find a suitable image consultant for her, he called his own image consultant to provide her with temporary advice for a while. His image consultant is very knowledgeable in men's clothing, but is much weaker in women's clothing. He was forced to become a young man by his master, but he didn't dare to disobey, so he had to study how to deal with this little princess with a sad face. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1009. Chapter 1009. Delayed Punishment. Fortunately, she is naturally beautiful and stunning. According to the jargon, some people look good even if they are wearing a rag. Xiaoling is such a person. The image consultant closed his eyes and thought, and matched Xiaoling according to the standards for matching clothes for Pei Xian. Regardless of the style and color, they were all chosen to be similar to Pei Xian's. Simple and elegant dark gray, light gray suit, soft dark blue, and light blue, with some black and white and a few embellishments that girls like. It is unexpectedly beautiful. Xiaoling wears it to go to class. Stepping into the classroom door, everyone's eyes lit up. Today she is no longer the colorful little peacock who strayed into a flock of swans. She looks extremely beautiful and elegant. She has also become a noble swan, even the most graceful and outstanding one among the whole flock of swans. Jealousy burns brightly in many people's hearts. Only this time, they didn't show it too obviously. Since last time in the classroom, Xiaoling was taken away by Pei Xian himself. No matter how stupid these girls are, they have discovered that she has an incredible background. Who dares to offend Pei Xian's people? Many young ladies were scolded by their parents after returning home, scolding them for being short-sighted, and even taking some of their beloved belongings to Xiaoling as compensation. So what if they are no longer willing? The situation is stronger than the person. But this does not mean that they like Xiaoling. The concept of hierarchy has long been ingrained in the hearts of these well-dressed young ladies. Do you want them to be on an equal footing with a small beggar? Bah, this is an insult to them. Many of them are already thinking in their hearts that when Pei Ziyan gets tired of Xiaoling one day, they must make her look good. Xiaoling stood at the door of the classroom and glanced around. She found that her classmates were a little weirdly quiet, and they didn't seem to like her much. It's really strange. Didn't their family give her so many gifts to apologize to her last time? She couldn't figure out the temperament of these young ladies, and doubts flashed through her mind, but she didn't think much about it. She saw an empty desk not far away and was about to sit on it. Miss Xiaoling suddenly, a voice stopped her. Xiaoling turned around and saw a woman wearing a business suit and a high bun. Teacher Gao, she called softly, recognizing the teacher she had met last time. Teacher Gao wore silver-rimmed glasses. Behind the glasses, he looked at her with sharp eyes. Do you know you are wrong? Xiaoling was slightly stunned. Right? What's wrong? Teacher Gao told her, Miss Xiaoling, the last time you fought with Miss Pei Jingshan and Pei Jingmei, they were all punished, but you are the only one who has not been punished. So, I will punish you today. The other ladies below unconsciously showed expressions of gloating. They have long known that Teacher Gao is very strict in teaching and has clear rewards and punishments. No matter you are the daughter of a family elder or the daughter of the head of the family, she will treat you equally and will not be lenient when punishment is due. Xiaoling was speechless. She had forgotten that this was happening. They provoked me first, she defended in a low voice. Teacher Gao raised his eyebrows. I don't care who of you provokes who first, as long as fighting is wrong. You are all the ladies of the Pei family. From now on, you will represent the image of the Pei family when you go out. If someone sees you fighting outside, they don't care about right and wrong, they just say, the lady of the Pei family hit someone. You have disgraced the whole family. Moreover, others will think you are uneducated, no matter what your reasons are. Teacher Gao's voice was stern. Xiaoling felt aggrieved. She wanted to say that she was not a young lady from the Pei family, but when she thought of Pei Ziyan, she swallowed the words silently. If he adopted her, wouldn't she be no different from Miss Pei? Do you understand? Teacher Gao asked her sharply. She nodded humbly. Why don't you speak? Are you mute? Teacher Gao was even more fierce. Several Pei family ladies were covering their mouths and laughing in the audience, watching her show with great interest. Does this little beggar, a wild girl from the countryside, know what etiquette is? Do you know what it means to be generous and articulate? Looking at the petty arrogance of this person, he should make a fool of himself. Xiaoling caught a glimpse of them laughing out of the corner of her eye, and felt even more aggrieved. It turned out that it was useless even after accepting those gifts. They still didn't like her? As she was thinking wildly, she felt a cold and slender pointer lift her chin. Unprepared, she looked into Teacher Gao's stern eyes behind her lenses. If you lose your mind while the teacher is lecturing, the crime will be increased. Miss Xiaoling, please answer me, do you understand? I understand. She was intimidated by Teacher Gao's momentum and quickly replied. Very good, Teacher Gao let her go with satisfaction. Now that you understand, you go and stand over there. You have to stand in class all day today. As you did last time when we had a fight and this time when the teacher lectured you, the punishment for wandering. Xiaoling obediently went to the classroom wall and stood at the spot designated by Teacher Gao. The other ladies gloated over her punishment. Many of the ladies had been punished for fighting with her before, and now it was her turn to be punished, and they felt very happy. Haha, at least there were many people accompanying them when they were punished, and they were not allowed to see this little beggar. And when this little beggar was punished, they all watched. After all, they still made money. The ladies were in a very happy mood. Teacher Gao started giving lectures and told them all kinds of etiquette knowledge. Xiaoling stood still at first, but soon she felt tired and her little shoulders slumped. Stand still, Teacher Gao was facing the classroom, but he kept paying attention to her from the corner of his eye. When he saw her shoulders slumped, he hit her with a pointer. Did you not have enough food in the morning? Did you stand still? Look, all the beggars on the roadside look better than you. Xiaoling was suddenly slapped so painfully that she cried out, "Ah!" Teacher Gao lashed out with the pointer again. What's the name? Ladies can't yell and scream casually, do you understand? Xiaoling's eyes were filled with mist, but she remained silent. 2 strokes of the pointer on her shoulder were painful. Teacher Gao refused to let her go and struck her with another whip. Stand up straight. Stand up straight here. She struck her on the shoulder, which was not straight enough. Xiaoling tried her best to straighten her body. Put your chest up. Tighten your abdomen. Keep your legs flat. Don't move your hands, Teacher Gao said, then spanked her once. She spanked him for more than 10 times before stopping with satisfaction. He looked at the girl standing by the wall with an upright posture. He turned around and continued to lecture. Xiaoling was very tired from standing, but she didn't dare to move. Every time you make a move, you will be whipped immediately. Having she ever had such a strict etiquette class since she was a child? Less than an hour later, my whole body was shaking. Teacher Gao shook his head secretly in his heart. Why is this girl so squeamish? She deliberately trained her and took class for a while. When Xiaoling finally couldn't hold on anymore and was about to collapse, she announced that get out of class was over. There will be another update tonight, which will be a few hours late. I recently had altitude sickness in Yunnan, and my sleep is irregular. I have insomnia and I need to catch up on my sleep. End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1010. Chapter 1010 Limited Edition Teacup. Xiaoling breathed a long sigh of relief, then she dared to relax and planned to go to the corridor to relax. Unexpectedly, her legs were sore and numb after standing for a long time. As soon as she moved, she staggered and fell to the ground. In the panic, I didn't know what I bumped into, but I heard someone next to me say ouch, and then the sound of broken porcelain. Warm water splashed around her, soaking her clothes. This is a birthday gift from my brother. It's a limited edition. A girl squatted next to her, looking at the debris on the ground with heartache, and blamed her. Why are you so careless? Xiaoling endured the pain and got up, only to see the debris on the ground. It seemed that a cup had been smashed by her, and the crystal clear tea flowed all over the floor. She felt very sorry and said to the girl, I'm sorry. She vaguely recognized the girl as the one she had fought with a few days ago, but she couldn't remember her name. The girl was very unhappy. What's the use of being sorry? This is a limited edition cup. My brother gave it to me personally. Now it's broken. What do you think I should do? Around, girls gathered around one after another, pointing. A wild girl is a wild girl, uneducated. Who does she think she is? Is it a big deal to be adopted by my eldest cousin? That's right. How can my eldest cousin, who is such an outstanding person, like her? She must have used some trick to pretend to be pitiful and enter our Pei family. After a few days, the first cousin will see her true face and will definitely throw her away and drive her out to beg for food. Haha, that's right. The girls' chirping voices reached Xiaoling's ears, making her panic and angry. No, it's not like what they said. Brother Pei will not abandon her. If Brother Pei really abandons her, what should Xiao do? Xiao's illness hasn't been cured yet. She bit her lip gently, not even thinking of refuting them. The girl whose cup was broken was still heartbroken. Oh, my cup. Xiaoling humbly admitted her mistake. I'm really sorry, can I make it up to you? She had to lower her head under the roof. She had to behave well so that Brother Pei wouldn't kick her out. But the girl persisted. Compensate? What are you going to pay for? Don't say you can't afford the compensation at all. Even if you have so much money, you can't buy this limited edition. Even if you can buy the limited edition, you still have to pay compensation. I can't afford my brother's affection for me. Woo, the girl was talking and about to cry again. Xiaoling was scolded by her to the point where she couldn't reply. She was right in every word of what she said. What could she do? I'm sorry. She could only apologize in a low voice. What's wrong? What happened? Suddenly, a beautiful female voice spoke. Sister Jingyu, it's Sister Jingyu who's here. There was a commotion in the crowd, and many girls stepped aside to leave a passage for Pei Jingyu to walk to the scene of the incident. Today, Pei Jingyu is wearing a plain white shirt with dark embroidery and a thin platinum pendant necklace. Her face is as beautiful as a thin powder and she stands out among a group of girls. She is very elegant and noble. It's a pity that Xiaoling was compared with her and was defeated. Pei Jingyu looked down at Xiaoling, who was squatting on the ground. There seemed to be countless ants called jealousy gnawing at her in her heart. Really, she was obviously a bastard, a bitch, and a wild child. How could she be so good looking? Xiaoling's long hair was a little messy. Her light gray one-collar dress was very simple and elegant, and it looked very charming against her stunning face. She is the kind of person that no matter what the situation, no matter what she wears, people can't take their eyes away. Now, with her lower eyelashes and a little guilty and embarrassed face, I feel pity for her. Pei Jingyu resisted the urge to tear that face apart. Xiaoling, are you in trouble again? Xiaoling didn't like her condescending tone and couldn't help but said, what does it have to do with you? Pei Jingyu smiled reservedly and arrogantly, looking at her with pity. On the side, some supporters of Pei Jingyu couldn't wait to reprimand Xiaoling. Why did you speak to Sister Jingyu? In the whole etiquette class, Sister Jingyu has the most honorable status. She is the class monitor. Of course she will be responsible if anything happens in the class qualification management. Turned out to be the squad leader. Xiaoling felt very unhappy. She was so unlucky. Why did she become the squad leader? She knew very well that Pei Jingyu had always disliked her. The last time she came to class for the first time, she had made trouble for her overtly and covertly. And after what happened, she didn't like Pei Jingyu at all, not at all. She said stubbornly, isn't the monitor great? Pei Jingyu chuckled, the squad leader is nothing special, but since everyone trusts me and makes me the squad leader, I must be responsible for mediating conflicts for everyone. Xiaoling, the state-owned legal family has family rules, and you are the lobby. The child I adopted must save face for him, and don't embarrass him by breaking the rules casually. With such a big hat pressed down on her, Xiaoling couldn't say anything. She neither wanted to be kicked out by Pei Xian nor did she want to embarrass him. Who told her to accidentally break someone else's cup? Biting his lip, he could only admit that he was unlucky. Then monitor, what do you think we should do? Pei Jingyu was very proud. Hey, she didn't believe that this little beggar couldn't be cured. Just when she was about to say something, Xiaoling added, I hope you can make a fair decision, otherwise, I won't be convinced. If the matter really gets serious, your parents will go looking for you with gifts. I will be very embarrassed if Brother Pei apologizes. Although she had to let Pei Jingyu make the decision, she had to say something ugly first, otherwise she would have no choice if Pei Jingyu tried to make things difficult for her again. Pei Jingyu's expression changed. This wild girl knows how to use her cousin to suppress people. The faces of some of the ladies who had come to apologize to her didn't look good either. This wild girl really didn't want to drink anything. She still remembers such embarrassing things. Sister Jingyu, you must punish her severely. Pei Jingshan, who was beaten all over by Xiaoling last time, was the first to lose her composure and said viciously. Although the other ladies didn't say anything, their eyes clearly showed this meaning. Pei Jingyu smiled calmly and nobly, we are all daughters of the Pei family. With such a noble status, how can we care about a little girl who was born in an orphanage and has no father and mother? Jingshan, Jingmei, have you forgotten what did our parents and brothers teach us to be tolerant and kind to those of lower rank? She spoke every word in an eloquent manner, apparently teaching a few young ladies a lesson, but in fact, who couldn't tell that she was criticizing others? He kept saying that Xiaoling had no parents and was an inferior person. Yingying is now in Lagu Lake, Yunnan. I accompanied my mother all the way from Lijiang to play with adults. I couldn't sleep well from the first day. I couldn't fall asleep very late every day. I had to wake up until 1 a.m., so I often caught up on my sleep in the afternoon. At first I thought it was just insomnia, but later I heard that this is also a type of altitude sickness. Yunnan is really beautiful. Dear friends living here, you are so happy, but because it has been raining recently so I plan to switch to XJ Kanas in the middle of the year. This is the third update yesterday, and there will be 3 more updates tonight. End of this chapter.